it good?
Yes, it's very good.
You want some crackers?
I'd like some more crackers, please.
That's what I said.
You want burgers, hot dogs, some chicken, and ribs? Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
Night of the Horror File.
All but one man died.
No.
There at
No.
Bitter
No.
And they say he ran away. Brandon scorned is the one who ran. What do you do when you're branded? You know you're a man. Brandon. Hi.
This is why you were so excited. This is why you were rushing me to get ready for this podcast.
Oh no, I was prepared. I was raring to go because I am so excited, you guys. I am like super duper excited, and because today is a Chuck Connors movie. You know what's wonderful about horror is that all these movies have all these actors in it because they all they work their way into horror at some point. So I get to talk about them on this fucking show. Like, isn't that wonderful?
No.
You get to hear about all my
No.
weird knowledge of things that happened before I was born.
No.
Anyway, but welcome to Night of the Horror File, a horror movie podcast where I take a horror movie and show it to my beautiful wife, Brittany, who gives us her thoughts and sometimes her negative reactions to me. Mostly, I feel like it's a show about not liking me.
It's true.
It's true. But what did we watch today?
Tourist Trap.
Brittany had to search for the name.
No, I almost said Sleepaway Camp because I was watching that today.
That's the next movie, which we'll announce at the end of this show, like usual.
Well, you didn't have to announce it.
That's true.
I just said I was watching
That's
it.
true. I didn't have to just fucking drop the bomb. Now everybody can shut off the show and wait till next week so they don't have to listen to my Chuck Connors love. But anyway, we've been on a pretty fun 70s road trip this month. We stopped at the Paradise, take in Faust, passed through Texarkana to see what the Texas Rangers were up to. And now on our way back home, we've stopped by a tourist trap to dump our money into. Do you like these kind of, do you like tourist traps when you're on a road trip? I love them.
Sure.
I'll tell you, Texas has the best tourist traps. In Texas, you have a beer can house in Houston, the Big Blue Crab in Rockport, Austin's Cathedral of Junk, and my favorite, Barney Smith's Toilet Seat Art Museum in San Antonio. And it's you got to stop by those places if you go to Texas. Just saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been to a tourist trap.
Really?
Yeah.
You never been to the biggest ball of twine?
No.
Or the world's largest toilet?
No.
Which is America anyway, but
You mean Oklahoma? Yeah, I've been to Oklahoma.
The biggest, no, Oklahoma doesn't have a lot of good ones. We have some, but it's mostly just meth here.
It's true.
Today's trap. Tourist trap is Mr. Slosson's Museum, and I think it's supposed to feel like we are in Texas. I don't think it explicitly states that we're in Texas.
It doesn't say where we are,
but it feels like we are, even though it's shot in California, which I'll talk about that in a minute. But I think that's because David Schmoller, the director, is a Texas native. But anyway, Tourist Trap is a case of a severely underrated horror movie, written and directed by Schmoller, of course, and co-written by J. Larry Carroll. This is basically a longer version of Schmoller's student thesis film, The Spider Will Kill You. Now, I've never seen that movie. It's a student thesis movie, but I know of it. But they took the basic idea of that thesis and created what we see today, a longer version of what he created. Now, casting for the film took about $50,000 of the budget, and of course includes the always great Chuck Connors, who I will discuss in length throughout this fucking show.
Great.
I hope you're ready
I'm
to
not.
learn more than you ever wanted to learn about Chuck Connors.
I'm not.
No,
Nope.
no. Have you ever, before this, have you ever even heard of the name Chuck Connors?
No, I don't know who that is.
Oh, damn. Okay, you're going to.
Who is it in this movie?
He plays Slauson.
Okay,
He
okay.
plays Slauson. See, this is how little.
They don't like put a picture up of the cast and say
No, but
this is
I don't
so
know.
and so played
maybe
by.
it's just me because I know who Chuck Connors is and I love Chuck Connors. So when I see Chuck Connors, like Chuck Connors, I don't even think I call him Slauson in my notes. I call him Connors. Chuck Connors. That's what he'll always be to me.
When you text me, when you text
go
me
ahead.
about Chuck Connors today, I thought you meant Chuck Norris. And I was like,
You're like, you
huh?
talked about Chuck Norris last week. Why are you?
No, I just thought you were just showing me a Chuck Norris thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then you sent it to me and I was like, oh, that he meant Chuck Connors.
Yeah, because that whole week last week, you were dealing with Chuck Norris references and knowledge about Chuck Norris.
And now here we have to deal with this.
Now you're going to deal with Chuck Connors for a whole fucking week. And then you'll probably deal with Felissa Rose for another week.
Well, at least Felissa Rose has boobs.
Felissa Rose is so hot. Anyway, I need to keep that down. I'm trying to interview her. I don't want to creep her out. But now the two of these guys, Schmoller and Carroll, got together and, they took the film to Charles Band, of course, the madman behind Full Moon Productions and director of such films like Head of the Family, Trancers, and all-time favorite Ginger Dead Man. Oh, and Evil Bong. He did the Evil Bong series and Corona Zombies that just came out recently, which fucking A+ satire in that movie. That movie is, you guys got to give it a chance. It's so dumb. But anyway, now originally Schmoller wanted John Carpenter to direct this one, but Carroll didn't like how the financial agreements would have gone with that. They pitched it to Roger Corman's collaborator Samuel Z. Arkoff too before they went to Charles Band, but again they couldn't secure his production with that. Now, Irwin Yablans was an executive producer on this film. And if any of you are Halloween fans, which I'm sure who isn't, you'll know that Yablans, he produced the original Halloween as well as, I believe, 2 of the sequels. I think they're, I mentioned Yablans and stuff like that because it feels like you have a lot of different little feelings in this movie, you know, while the producers, they brought I think they brought a little bit of the atmosphere, Band, of course, with the exploitation kind of feel, including a bit of the telekinesis that we'll learn is in this movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the original script. That was Charles Band's idea. And he thought,
For why?
He insisted on having it there, and I kind of think it helps a little. I think it helps with the creepy ass atmosphere. But I compare the atmosphere in this movie kind of to Halloween a little bit, just that creepy feel. I'm not comparing this movie to Halloween, just the atmosphere, the feeling of it. It's just got a real creepy, thick atmosphere to it.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. Even Stephen King in his book, The Dance Macabre, wrote that, and I'm paraphrasing, that this was an underrated flick, complete with a haunting atmosphere that it masters. And he said it's one of his favorite movies, but he didn't like Chuck Connors. How the fuck do you not like Chuck Connors? But, let's get right to Tourist Trap from 1979.
Oh, we're going to get right to it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Don't worry. Just get right into it. Let's just roll the film. Let's do that.
So we first meet a guy named Woody, and then he sticks his Woody in you and then breaks it off, and then you both die of dysentery.
Okay. Whoa.
This is the first thing that came to my brain.
Whoa. That is a porn I do not want to see. Many of our listeners, though, are Joe Bob fans, of course. And this movie was included on that first, the last drive-in marathon, which was like an all-night thing. I credit.
I don't know where that came from.
But I credit Joe Bob for bringing this movie its new spotlight that it has nowadays. It has gone through a sudden surge in popularity. Before, Tourist Trap was a little-known movie, mostly popular with horror buffs, who kind of pulled this out as a deep cut. Okay. I remember, because when did I see this? I think I saw this on fucking videotape,
Probably.
a video cassette back in the day of the video stores, because I remember just renting movies because of the cover art. Do you remember that?
No, I didn't do that.
No, I never even read the back. I just pick up
wasn't you.
movies.
There was no offense. I just wasn't.
No, that's true. Because I can't remember what episode I talked about basically living in the video stores when I was younger, when my parents were shopping. But you know, I think it really has found a new surge these days, and I think we need to credit Joe Bob for that. I think he really did bring that up, and he does that with a lot of movies. Like recently, he did. They did a VHS night on at the last drive-in, and they highlighted Things, which is a movie I didn't even know anybody knew of. Like, it's one of my favorite just trash Canadian horror movies. It's hot fucking garbage, and it makes no goddamn sense, but I love it.
Okay.
I'm like a weird super fan of that fucking movie. and he did that, and now everybody's talking about Things and stuff, and the same with a few other movies. So I think like The Last Drive-In's really doing a good job at highlighting some of these lesser known films.
Yeah.
Keep doing that, you know, like I hope they keep doing that, and they don't just turn to the more popular stuff, you know, just whatever's popular. I don't,
right.
You know, everybody talks about A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, which is why we don't actually do too many of those.
Yeah.
At a time, you know, everybody loves to do like whole marathons of those on their podcasts for like a whole month, which is fine.
I don't want to talk about the same movie every fucking day.
I don't either. I don't watch the same movie every day, you know.
You just listen to the same song every day for 60 days.
And today was the Branded theme song. Now, Mark is the one who ran.
Stop it.
Anyway, let's get to the movie.
So we meet a guy named Woody. He is rolling a tire down a back road and finds a sign for a gas station. Then back at the car, we meet his girlfriend Eileen, who is waiting for Woody to get back after he fills the tire with air. And their friends show up to help.
Not a lot of dudes named Woody anymore, you know? I think it's because of our minds as humans have like de-evolved over time, and I think the word Woody is just gonna make everybody laugh.
Yeah.
What is Woody short for? You think Woody's short for Woodrow? Like, would you name your kid Woodrow or something?
No,
you wouldn't name him Woodrow.
I have 3 boys. Not one of them is named Woodrow, and I never had it on my list. Okay?
They're not named Woodrow. Like I don't know their names. Wait, what about that one? What about Woodrow? He's
Fuck
running around in here.
Fuck that kid.
Woodrow, I feel like if you name your kid Woodrow, he's going to turn out to be a serial killer.
Maybe.
But it's, same with Eileen. Not a lot of Eileens. Everybody's trying to come on her. Yeah. Dexy's Midnight Riders. Anybody?
Anyway.
Bueller.
Anyway. So Woody makes it to the gas station, and when he goes inside, no one is there.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts looking around, and he finds a mannequin that scares him. He then gets locked into a room, and all these other mannequins start bursting through windows and out of closets and laughing menacingly at him.
Yes. Oh God!
Was that good?
Yeah,
Did I do
that
good?
was very good.
I didn't
It was menacing. It kind of gave me a shock. I kind of pooped.
Okay, you don't have to be a jerk. I hope you never eat warm food again in your life.
What? What kind of insult was that? I need to teach you a little bit better.
If you think about it, It's a slow burn. Never eat warm food again in your life.
Like,
yeah.
I'm still thinking about Dexy's Midnight Riders and coming on Eileen.
Anyway, so he breaks part of the door to stick his hand through and like unlock it.
Yeah.
And when he sticks his arm through, someone on the other side grabs his arm and won't let go.
Which is a fatal mistake. In a horror movie, you never reach through a hole. You know, like never reach into it. Well, even if you make it, don't ever reach out there. Like, you always want to keep your arms in eyes view, you know? Like, always make sure your appendages are always viewable. Yeah.
I guess so, yeah. But he didn't know he was part of a horror movie.
Oh, that's true. I don't know. I would after the fucking laughing mannequins. It's like, fuck, I'm in a horror movie. Oh, God damn it. I think that every time I go to like a mall or something that has mannequins.
I think that
I'm
when
in
I
a
go
horror
to
movie. I
Walmart.
need to get the fuck out of here.
I think that in Walmart.
Oh, me too. Especially the smell, you know? Anyway.
Anyway, so now he's stuck there, and bottles are being, I don't want to use the word thrown.
They're like hurled? Is
Hurled?
hurled a good word with this?
But none of that makes sense because nobody is throwing them.
Oh.
They're just being tossed from the cabinet to his head. Then finally, this pipe levitates. These words are hard. Levitates and shoots into his body, and he dies.
Shoots into his body.
I don't know what to say.
This is so funny.
There's nobody there to like jab him. He gets stabbed with this pipe. Oh, but you know what's really cool?
Uh-huh.
Is his blood dripping out.
Oh, you see, that is nice.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you ever make a movie and someone gets impaled with a pipe, you always got to have blood coming out of the end. If you don't, you're wasting the pipe gag, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, now these spooky opening scenes for the flying items, you know, they nailed this cabinet that you see in the scene to the ceiling.
Okay.
You know, and the crew like flung things straight down, giving it a pretty convincing look. You know, because and they could have used wires, but that would have taken a long time because there's a lot of stuff being thrown at him, and it'd be really hard to hide the wires a little bit properly. They do use wires throughout most of this movie, and I think this is like some of the best early wire work, like, or at least in a 70s movie like this for a low budget film. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that's for a low budget movie. It really does some really cool shit.
I didn't see any wires.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it
Oh.
you just know. I just know they're there. It's not, you know. But
I'm just saying they did a good job. That's what I mean.
they do. All these special effects, set designs and stuff were created by Robert Burns and Richard O. Helmer. Now Helmer, if that name if the name's recognized by anybody besides me, he would go on to work for some really big giant summer blockbusters like Armageddon and Spider-Man 2. Now Robert Burns was the art director on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Hills Have Eyes, The Howling, and Reanimator, just to say a few. And while I said earlier, actually, I need to contradict myself real quick.
You liar.
Speaking of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, I said earlier it kind of feels like Halloween, but I'm thinking it more feels like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay, I was thinking that, but I was going to go with whatever you said.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking. I was like, you know what? Nah.
No, you're wrong.
Nah, I think I'm stuck on the comparisons people were making of Halloween on The Town That Dreaded Sundown last week.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's what I had Halloween fresh in my mind. But, you know, it's not just, though, like the feeling of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is all over this movie, but not just because of Robert Burns, like I said, the art director, but also because co-writer J. Larry Carroll was also the editor on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So you have a lot of connections to Texas Chainsaw. I believe Tobe Hooper and Schmoller went to the same school together.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so like because they're both Texas directors, and I think Tobe Hooper kind of overshadows Schmoller, but Schmoller doesn't get the credit he deserves, I feel like.
No, he doesn't.
He's the other weird guy, you know, from Texas. Tobe Hooper being the first.
Okay. You're right. He doesn't.
Brittany's like, I don't even know.
I just don't know who he is. That's okay.
That's okay. We will definitely cover more
You're
Schmoller.
educating me today.
Yes. We will definitely cover more of David's work, but I think that's something, you know, something should be said more about the practical work in this movie.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I think why we were watching it, the way you put it, I loved. Because while we were watching this the other night, you said like something about the line between fantasy and reality.
Oh, it blurs that line so hardcore.
Yes. It really gives this movie its weird quality.
Yeah.
Like even with the mannequin orgies we get later, and just that end scene, you know, which we'll talk about later on. You know, where he's spinning the mannequin and it keeps turning into, you know, it really does feel, it just creeps you the fuck out. And, you know, David Schmoller said that like his goal of the movie or the reason why it feels so weird is because he wanted the film to be like a nightmare. Like you're watching a nightmare come to life, you know.
Oh, we'll talk about that at the end of the movie then.
Brittany almost got pissed off at the end of this movie, and we'll talk about it later. Now, also, the laughter that Brittany impersonated. Oh, Jesus.
It was really loud. I'm
That
sorry.
was really loud. But the laughter you hear was originally created for the laughing hyena at the zoo in Disney's Lady and the Tramp. And if you've ever been on the ride, It's a Small World at Disney World, you can hear it play during that ride, this laughing.
Oh, that's a little creepy.
Scared the ever-loving shit out of me when I attended Disney World about 7 years ago.
Ooh, yeah.
I was like, oh my God, that's a tourist trap. What the fuck? By the way, if you ever want true horror, ride It's a Small World. that ride is scary because the whole time you're going down this fucking weird river thing to different countries and there's these tiny little dolls singing at you.
Oh, yeah, fuck that.
It's a small world after all. And they're singing in different languages and stuff, some areas, but you'll constantly have the feeling like if this ride breaks down, I'm murdering everybody on this boat. Like, that's how my mind, this is how I go. This is how I go because there was a story about it breaking down and this one guy, he was he was in a wheelchair and he couldn't exit the ride properly and he got stuck there and he fucking just snapped on everybody. He didn't kill anybody. Nobody got murdered.
I was like, wait, what?
He was pissed. I think he sued and stuff, but like, I just imagine getting trapped on that fucking ride.
Can you at least turn the power off if we're going to be trapped? Ugh. So the others go to find Woody, and their Jeep ends up stopping and not starting again.
Don't you hate it when your Jeep breaks down when you're trying to find Woody?
I'm not going to comment on that. So the girls get out, and Eileen finds a beautiful waterfall. She says she's going to go swim, and she doesn't need a suit for it.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun. So they all go skinny dipping.
And so you get excited. We're watching a slasher movie. We're feeling it. And then the mention of skinny dipping pops up, and you're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
But no.
No, not quite. Well, a man named Mr. Slauson shows up, and he asks if they're having a good time. He keeps looking at Molly, one of the girls, like he knows her. Like he's like questioning her.
Yeah, which we find out what's going on in his mind later at the end.
Okay, we don't have to tell him.
No, I'm sorry. I'm very excited.
I know you're excited, but we don't have
also, I'm very excited because Chuck Connors takes over the movie from here. Because I feel like when Chuck Connors arrives on the scene, that's when the movie really gets good. Because, I mean, the man fills up a screen, overshadows everybody. It's amazing, you know? And also, he's carrying a rifle. That has to be a mention. Like, that has to be a tribute to the rifleman.
Or does it?
Yeah, I think so.
Because the rifleman is the only person in the world to ever carry a rifle.
Well, yeah.
Okay. I have enough of you already. I am so over you. You had too much coffee.
I might have. And too much Chuck Connors. I watched a lot of Chuck Connors today.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of which, I watched The Rifleman, and I feel like that show's really strange in the way it handles violence. Because, like, you know, in The Rifleman, he always ends up killing some people with his rifle.
Really?
Hence the name. But
No.
and then he's always like, you know, the little boy that's with him, his son, is always like, you won. And he's like, nobody wins with violence. But then he goes on to kill 6 or 7 or 20 more bad guys next week. And it always cracked me up.
Do what I say, not what I do?
I guess so.
Yeah.
He never teaches his son how to handle a gun in that show. So I think he is like, you know, don't use violence, but I will.
Right.
Bow.
So Slauson tells them that they need to leave before it gets dark. And then there's just like this long pause. And he's like, because of the snakes.
Yeah, this fucking pond fills up with snakes. He doesn't say fucking. That would be interesting.
This fucking pond.
This fucking pond fills up. If it was, if they remade this movie, and we'll talk about how I do have a theory that this movie was remade, but if they remade this movie, you know they'd make it edgy like that. Like,
Oh yeah.
what you doing in my fucking pound? Like Rob
Yes.
Zombie's fucking. Somebody would get raped or something randomly. It's just.
Yeah. I'm glad that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So they end up getting out of the water and making a joke about Mr. Slauson being someone that likes to chop up pretty girls by moonlight.
How right you are, but well, he doesn't chop them up. But surprisingly, this movie, I mentioned the lack of nudity. We kind of hinted at that, but this movie is rated PG. I say PG because PG-13 wasn't a rating yet. Wouldn't be for another 5 years. See our episode on PG-13 ratings. The rating actually kind of shocked Schmoller because he felt like the dark content in this movie should have earned it an R rating, which I kind of agree. It is a little dark for a PG movie.
I agree.
Like, it's kind of weird because but Jaws was PG too. Like, a lot of these earlier movies got that PG rating out of nowhere, and Jaws is pretty violent, I think. Like, it's very interesting that's PG.
I haven't seen it.
Like I said, see our episode on PG horror because most of them really are scary at point in case. But I have a feeling though that it got that PG rating because of the lack of nudity at the time.
Probably.
This is a slasher movie. Why do we not have any breasts or boobies? We have Tanya Roberts.
Yeah.
Tonya Roberts is in the cast.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you don't know who that is. She was in a lot of erotic thrillers in the 90s that kind of helped Lee
Donna's
find
mom?
himself.
Is that Donna's mom?
Yes, it is
Okay.
Donna's mom.
I've seen her titties before.
Have you?
Yes.
In what? Not
Did
that
we-
70s show.
Are you sure?
Yeah. There's no nudity in that 70s show. I would know.
Okay, maybe I haven't.
Maybe
Maybe
that
I just
70s
thought it.
show
Maybe
was a
I
Fox
just.
primetime sitcom.
Maybe I just dreamed it. Okay.
I think you did. I think you may have, or maybe you saw me watching one of these erotic thrillers. But
Maybe.
that was definitely of what are you watching moment when my mom walked in and I was watching what the fuck was it when I was watching Dark Desire or something like that. But I don't. Those erotic thrillers always had those types of names, like Dark Desire, or like I get one that comes to mind like really vividly is this one where this girl gets fucked on a pinball machine. And no, I'm not talking about the Jodie Foster rape movie, but it was a different movie where someone consensually got fucked on a pinball machine.
Okay.
I don't know the name of that though. But anyway, David Schmoller was very nervous, about approaching these women on this cast about appearing nude in the movie because the script did actually call for nudity.
Okay.
Yeah. But he pussed out. but even if he had, because he eventually did get up the nerve to ask, and the collective answer was no.
Yeah.
So no boobs in this slasher movie.
I mean, I like boobs as much as the next person, but it wasn't needed.
True. I mean, there's no boobs in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, I mean, I get it.
Yeah. I don't feel like it was
But
needed.
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre got an R rating. See, isn't that weird? There's not a drop of blood really in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Huh.
But this movie got PG. Anyway, it's very confusing.
I don't know.
Let's move on.
So they walk back to the Jeep and Slauson is waiting on them. And he says that he will take them back to his house to get his tools and help fix the car.
Yeah.
They get in the truck with him.
That is a horror movie. No. There's a lot of horror movie rules here.
You
Shadow.
don't do that.
I mean, there's the old adage, like, that's how horror movies begin. I guess that's also how porns begin too, but Would you trust Mr. Slauson here?
No.
He's like, he's a very
Nope.
nice guy here at front. Well, actually, no, he's not. He's creepy as fuck.
Yeah. Like he's like watching Molly.
Chuck
and,
Connors does a really good
watching
job
her.
at being fucking creepy, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing, especially when you watch The Rifleman or Branded and stuff and then compare it to this. He had a range that I don't think a lot of people really mention.
So they get to the house, which is, he says, is a museum that is closed down now. They all get beer and talk about how Mr. Slauson's brother makes these mannequins and how he got hired for working at the wax museum in another town. Slauson and Jerry go to fix the car and the girls stay back at the museum and he tells them not to walk around outside because of coyotes.
Hey, watch out for them coyotes. No.
Oh, but I did not write in my notes, and I
Uh-huh.
should have. There's another house like down from his
Yes,
museum
yes.
thing, and Eileen's like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, that's where Davy lives." And she's like, "Who's Davy?" And he's like, "Davy Crockett." And
Yeah,
he's talking
'cause-
about how Davy Crockett
over.
doesn't get along with one of the other mannequins or what the
really
fuck ever.
weird, man.
Yes.
Like, there's so many red flags, but maybe it's the Dr. Pepper he keeps handing out. Like, there was a lot of soda in this movie. Did you notice
It
it?
was beer.
Was it beer?
Yes.
I don't know. He keeps reaching into that fucking Dr. Pepper machine and like pulling out cans. So I just assumed it was Dr. Pepper, but a lot of that.
They spoke about beer.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Huh.
If you look really closely, one of them's a Coors Light
Oh, okay. Well, shit.
or a Coors.
Coors Banquet.
Maybe
At
so.
this time, it would have been a Coors Banquet beer.
Yeah. But
You can still buy Coors Banquet down at the street.
at the street?
Down the street. No, there's not just some dude selling Coors Banquet beer off the street corner. No, there's a corner store down the street from us. I'm sorry.
What?
Get your Coors Banquet.
Just
I'm sure listeners are probably like, what the fuck happens in Tulsa? What
Oh,
the
you don't
shit is
want to
that?
know.
But all these mannequins that you see moving and stuff in this movie, because you see a lot of these mannequins really move and they're real creepy. But all these mannequins are actually mimes in costume. You know, like that's,
Oh.
and they do really cool movements, especially like when he lights up General Custer and stuff, and the other
Yeah.
mannequins that light up and stuff. But anyway, on more pressing matters, of course, Slauson is played by the legendary Chuck Connors.
Oh my
if you
God,
if
you
you
said
haven't
that
picked up,
700
if you
times.
haven't picked up by this point, the role was actually offered to Jack Palance first, though, among a few other people. I think Chuck Connors was the third in line for this role.
Okay.
But Connors, star of The Rifleman, and my personal favorite, Branded. Connors began his career as a basketball player because of his height. He was 6'6".
Wow.
Yeah. But he left basketball to become a baseball player. He was a huge Dodgers fan, and his goal was to play for the Brooklyn Dodgers, something he actually did accomplish. In May of 1949, I believe, he played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. I think mostly before that, he kind of skipped around the minor leagues and stuff like that. But he only lasted about 5 weeks with the Dodgers before he returned to his previous Montreal, I think, who he played for. And he played for the Cubs in 1951 as well. So he was a baseball player before this. So I think this is one of those early moments where a sports star can become an actor. You know, we get that a lot nowadays with wrestlers.
Right.
You know, yeah.
Fucking John Cena.
John Cena. Man, I saw John Cena in a suit the other day, and I'm just saying, man. I was like, shit, okay. But anyway,
There's something about a sharp dressed man.
I know. And I could see him. I think the suit helps me see him. You know, I think
I never understood that because I never watched John
that was
Cena
his
wrestle.
thing. That was his thing. You can't see me and shit like that was his catchphrase. Kind of like the Rock had. You know, can smell what the Rock's cooking, but
Yeah.
Rock doesn't cook much anymore. He switched his name to not John Cena. Well, fuck. Oh,
He
fuck.
just is John
he's
Cena now.
Dwayne Johnson now, so he's not much of the Rock. But anyway, let's get off of wrestling for a second and do a wrestling podcast. But
I'm not doing it.
now Connor's film career began when a baseball fan who was actually also a casting director for MGM happened to spot him probably at a game or practice or something, and he recommended him for the part in the Katharine Hepburn comedy Pat and Mike. That was in 1952. He played the captain of the state police in that film. He got paid $500 for that role, and of course that was much more than what he was making playing baseball.
Oh, yeah.
So from then on out, he devoted the rest of his career to strictly acting. And like I said, he was 6'6", so he was a very intimidating hero.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can see it in The Rifleman. He towers over all the other actors, so it makes him more of an intimidating guy. And especially when he would start playing tough heavies in some other movies like Soylent Green, he plays I believe he's a bodyguard or something. He becomes like the main antagonist in that movie. But
I've never heard tough heavies before, and I was like, what?
They were heavy toughs, you know.
No, I
Tough,
was like,
a heavy,
what?
you know, heavy. Anyway,
Nope.
Oh, but sorry, your face was hilarious. I wish this was video.
Because you looked at me funny because I looked
was
at
like,
you funny.
What's wrong? But you know, we mostly, those of us who are fans and stuff and fans of movies, mostly associate Connors with being the Wild West hero, you know, out to put criminals down. But he had, like I said, an incredible range that doesn't get talked about enough. Chuck Connors turned to horror later in his career in hopes, as he said, becoming the Boris Karloff of the 1980s. That was a thing he kind of wanted to do. That didn't really pan out, but like... But most, I don't know. I think it's because Chuck Connors is too good looking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a good looking man. But also he mostly did these horror characters because he had a blast playing these things and said they were really fun to do. You know.
Well, yeah.
I mean, obviously, you get to play this creepy bad guy and play dual roles and shit. And Tourist Trap is not the only horror flick Connors did. Like I said, he did Soylent Green and a few other really good ones. I mean, look it up and
No.
Brittany is not going to. I mean, this isn't the first time we'll be covering Chuck Connors. That's the funny part.
Oh, God.
We will hit some of these other movies to Brittany's chagrin. But he loved this film and he worked very hard on it, and I think it shows, you know. And you gotta love how much attention he pays to playing dual roles, you know.
Yeah.
Spoilers, but Chuck even came up with the idea of this limp to have Slauson do. You know, when he's Slauson, he has a limp to him.
Yeah.
And that was kind of his idea, which kind of wreaked havoc on like the continuity expert and stuff, like the person doing continuity and then editing, because Connors himself had to make sure he always remembered to do this limp from then on out through the whole movie.
Yeah.
But you know, at this time when he was playing these horror roles, it was kind of unheard of for these professional actors with a good career, you know, because like I said, he had already done a huge stint on Branded, or well, not a huge stint on Branded in the last 2 seasons, but he did The Rifleman, and he was in all these westerns and stuff like that, he had a really good career at this point. And then he went to horror, which is it's the complete opposite of what you usually hear how the story goes. Usually these guys start in horror and then they move on to their better career, like George Clooney.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, speaking of The Rifleman, I think I've said The Rifleman like 20 times. If you watch that show's opening title sequence, because I was watching The Rifleman today, and I swear to God, Chuck Connors holds that fucking rifle at the beginning and the opening like a dick. Like,
Yeah.
it's just blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then of course it pans up in his face. He's giving that like, yeah, look to the camera. Oh man. But my favorite thing Chuck ever did was Branded, though. My God, Branded was so fucking good. He plays Jason McCord, a U.S. cavalry captain who gets court-martialed and thrown out of the service after an unjust accusation of cowardice. You know, in the opening, they would always you would play the Branded theme that I triumphantly sung at the beginning of the show, and they'd be ripping off his like shoulder, like whatever shit that like cavalry wear and stuff, his badges and shit, and then they break his cavalry sword and shit like that, and then they banish him. You know, he spends the whole show making up for it and kind of redeeming himself. What's funny is another horror connection is Larry Cohen created that show just for Chuck Connors, and horror fans know Cohen as the fantastic director and writer of movies like It's Alive, Q, The Winged Serpent, and The Stuff, which is one of my favorite Cohen films. But Chuck Connors is the shit, man. Like one of my favorite places I visited as a kid a bunch of times, I think 5 or 6 times when I was a kid, is the Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in OKC. You know, the Cowboy Hall of Fame has Chuck Connors in there. So, you know, you gotta love some Chuck Connors.
I guess so.
I'm sure most of you are wondering how the hell I know about Branded and The Rifleman or any of this shit. But it's because, okay, so when I was growing up, you know, when I'd come home from school, you'd have your after school cartoons, which is not a thing anymore, I don't think. But you'd have your after school cartoons. And of course I had those. But then after those ended, I can't remember the station, but another station would play The Rifleman and then Branded. And then after that, you had the Rockford Files. So I never missed those shows either.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think
weird.
And Chuck Connors was awesome in the show called Werewolf. You got to see that too. Like it's very obscure, but it's a show called Werewolf, and he plays a fucking vampire in that movie or that show. It's fucking crazy. That show is off the rails. I think he's buried in the same Spanish missionary where Bob Hope is buried too. Anyway.
Oh.
Anyway, we should probably get back to the movie.
Yeah. You're losing me here.
Brittany's falling asleep.
This is not the Chuck Connors hour.
I will turn this podcast around and call it the Connors cast.
I would quit.
Brittany's like, you're going to have to find someone older or something.
Just not me.
Just find an 80-year-old man who met Chuck Connors or something. Welcome to the Connors cast. There's probably some 80-year-old man listening to us.
No, probably not.
You don't think so? Like, I looked at the podcast numbers the other day, and it tells you what age range people are in, which how they know that, I don't fucking know. I don't think that's real. But, like, it showed the 60 to 100 age category is a little bit much. Like,
a little too much.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in that age range listening to us. And I'm like, oh, God.
I'm scared now. So the girls think that Slauson is hiding something and is creepy. I mean, they're right.
Yeah. Listen,
So Eileen goes down to the other house, even though Slauson told her not to. And she goes into the house and hears something and just walks in.
Oh, yeah. It's a horror movie. You got to walk in to investigate the noise.
No. I ain't doing it.
Like, why don't you guys just walk away? Like, leave. Like, just walk down the street, do something. I don't know. Although I suck.
I don't want to find out what's down the street either.
Yeah, that's true.
So she finds some creepy mannequins and then hears someone whispering her name. Eileen. She goes looking and thinks that it's Woody. And she doesn't find anything except for mannequins.
Come on, Eileen.
Stop it.
At this moment, you mean everything. Okay, I'm sorry.
So she's looking in the mirror, and then all of a sudden, a man with a mannequin face is behind her. The mirror breaks, and he locks her in the room, but with his mind.
Yeah.
And he starts to choke her with this scarf that she stole off of a mannequin, but with his mind. And then again, bottles breaking everywhere.
With his mind.
With his mind.
Eileen, who sadly dies here, is played by Robin Sherwood. She was a model in Miami, and 3 years later after this, she would play the daughter of Paul Kersey in Charles Bronson's flick Death Wish 2. I love the Death Wish movies. Like, if we ever get the chance to talk about Charles Bronson, you're going to have the same experience you're having with Chuck Connors. But
right.
But this isn't her first role. I believe she was in the movie Love Butcher, which is another less talked about slasher, which I'd like to see some people talk about Love Butcher a little bit. It's a garbage of a movie, but I like it.
Love Butcher. Okay.
Yeah, the Love Butcher. I think there's a gardener killing people in that. We have a few important actors, though, here, as well as the previous. Obviously, the previously mentioned Tanya Roberts, pre-Bond girl Tanya Roberts. Of course, Brittany knows her from that 70s show as she plays Midge, which is Donna's mom.
Yes.
But she was also in a few of my favorite fantasy swords and sandals movies like Cena and Beastmaster, which I believe that was her breakout role in the Beastmaster, directed by.
That sounds like a porn.
It's good. It's directed by Don Cascarelli.
I didn't say it was bad. I just said it sounded like it's porn.
Most of these that I talk about could be almost porn. It could be fucking in any of them. I think she was 23 or 24 in this, but tons of people know her from Charlie's Angels as well. You know, she played Julie Rogers, not Julia Roberts. God damn, I can't talk. But she played Julie Rogers in that final season of Charlie's Angels between 1980 and 1981 or something. She also did a bunch of erotic thrillers, as I stated, in the late 80s and early 90s, including Night Eyes and Inner Sanctum.
Inner Sanctum.
Inner Sanctum.
That sounds...
In her sanctum. Anyway.
That's what I was thinking.
We're on the same page. But this was David Schmoller's first time working with actors, you know, and giving them directions. And he said it was Jocelyn Jones who really helped him. She kind of helped him out. They became friends, but at first, like, he was giving her line readings, which is something you don't do to theatrically trained actors. And she got a little offended. She was like, "Do not give me a line reading."
Oh God.
But he said, you know, she kind of taught him, you know, how to work with people like that. And he was working with two different kind of actors, you know. Jocelyn Jones, who plays Molly. She was, like I said, theatrically trained. So she would do all these like warm-up exercises and all these things before they got filming and stuff. And then you have Chuck Connors, who was self-taught. So he's off in the corner, like asking Schmoller, like, what the hell is she doing? He thought it was weird. And so he's working with two different kinds of actors. And I think that really like gave him a crash course in how to direct.
Right. That's sad.
Speaking of Jones, Jocelyn Jones, she's the daughter of character actor who I remember as a bike salesman in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and then the Corner in Vertigo, which is an Alfred Hitchcock movie. Henry Jones, he was a big character actor. So.
Okay. So the other girls are peering out, and Becky says that there's a light on at that house, and they should go see what's taking Eileen so long. Molly says she's staying there. And then they find another mannequin, and this mannequin is like in a cutout of the wall with lights and music and everything. And Molly was just like pushing buttons on this thing, and it lights up and plays music. And they say it looks just like a real person, and they touch it, and it says that her face feels real.
Yeah.
So they end up getting scared by Slauson when he walks in, and he says that Jerry took the truck to town and they couldn't fix the Jeep yet. So they sit down and talk a bit and about his wife and things like that. And then he realizes that Eileen is gone, and he is pissed, and he's going to look for her.
Now, okay, speaking of the mannequins, like how do you feel about the mannequins in this film? Like, I don't know. I find mannequins like forever creepy. Like, I think they're an excellent horror element, like to any movie. Like, if you want a little bit of a creep scene, throw a fucking mannequin into your shot and you got it. Like, are you scared of mannequins? Do they freak you out at all?
No, not really.
I mean, there is that 1980s movie Mannequin where the mannequin comes to life and has sex with the dude, but that's not what all the movie's about. They fall in love and all that bullshit, but
okay. Okay. No, not really. They don't freak me out.
There was a period in the 80s and maybe the early 90s where we were it feels like we were obsessed with fantasy guys have when they're like looking at things, you know, like Mannequin was one, and then like Splash where Tom Hanks fucks the mermaid, like, you know.
Well, that's not very nice.
Yeah, I just feel like there was a lot of those movies. They were really weird. Really weird.
That sounds weird.
Yeah. But Pino Donaggio, and I'm saying that name wrong, did the score here, and he's known for doing the score for, you know, if this music sounds familiar to you, he did the score for Brian De Palma's Carrie.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. It does kind of have that same kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people complained about the score to this movie, saying it's a little too hokey, you know, and a little too bright and poppy, but I think that adds to the creepy element. Erwin Yables hated the score to this movie, and he wanted more of a synth-driven Carpenter-like sound, which, you know, go work on the Halloween films then. Like, this is not Halloween, Yablins. But anyway, I think that would have ruined this movie if the score fits so well, even though some people are like, well, it needs to be scarier, but I don't.
There's a score.
Brittany famously doesn't hear music.
I don't. I have a problem. Okay.
It's okay. It's
Unless
okay.
I know the song or it really catches me.
That's true. What movie was it that we watched that you really noticed this? Oh, wait, no, it was just because it had music in it. Like actual tunes.
What was it?
I don't remember.
But if it has music that I know, then I'm like, I know this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I got to sing along, but not on the podcast.
True. I understand. We did it one time with
I'm
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
just talking about how you think you have to sing every time.
I think it's funny.
This is not I was about to say a radio show. That's not what I
It
meant.
kind of is.
I know, that sounds like, wait, no.
This is what radio has become. A bunch of idiots talking
This is
about
not
movies.
a top 100 list, okay?
Oh, I should do a top 100 list.
No.
I should say
No.
each a little snippet of every top 100.
Fuck. I'm just going to shut my mouth because I cannot give you ideas.
Branded, marked as the one who ran. Anyway, you know, it cost them 1/6 of this fucking film's budget to get DiNaggio. Like, that's a lot of money to spend on just because you wanted him for the score.
I guess.
That's a lot of money, man. But anyway, let's get back.
So Slauson goes to the other house and is looking for Davy. He finds Eileen in mannequin form.
Davy's not here, man. I'm sorry.
Okay. And the girls are still in the other house. They find a photo of Slauson's wife and they say it looks just like the mannequin with the lights and the music.
Yeah.
And he walks in and said that this was the best way to keep her memory alive. He then says that he didn't find Eileen and that he's going to look for her.
Come on, Eileen.
They
Oh,
I have had enough of you.
Oh no!
Why are you so hyper today?
I don't know. I don't know because I'm talking about Chuck Connors and I'm having a good time.
I do not have enough energy for you.
I'm sorry.
So
I apologize.
he then. So the girls asked to go with him to look for her, and he says no. So when he leaves, Becky decides to go to try and find her also, and Molly finally decides to go with her.
Yeah, a lot of people complain also about like the moments in between the horror and stuff in this movie, but I don't know. I don't find an issue with it.
That's fine.
Have I mentioned it feels like we've reached a period of time? I don't know if anyone enjoys watching movies anymore. There is a complaint about everything. Like, especially the movies where it's like you're just supposed to turn off and have fun, like the Suicide Squad that recently came out.
Yeah.
Where people are saying, well, it's underwritten. And it's like, yeah, it's supposed to be dumb. Like, what do you want?
They want Marvel.
But those movies are dumb too. Like, anyway, I don't understand it. But back on the fantasy feeling of this movie, though, the movie it has, David Schmoller was a student of Alejandro Jodorowsky, and you don't have to know who that is, but I'm sure some of our listeners do. You know, he was the director of the Mexican acid western El Topo. I fucking love El Topo.
El Topo.
It is good. It is fucked up, but it's good. But Schmoller definitely was drawing influence on, from that odd acid-like qualities of Jodorowsky for this. Because, like you said, it's like a nightmare you're watching. It has a very dream-like quality to it.
Yeah.
Schmoller had a pretty good career with movies like Ghost Town, Crawl Space, and a movie I'm sure listeners know, Puppet Master. He'd do years after this.
Yep, seen that one too.
But
haven't seen that one.
But he learned from Jodorowsky when he stayed in Mexico for a while he was learning his trade. And it makes you wonder, like, in order to make a really weird movie, do I need to go to Mexico and eat the worm and trip balls on the coast, do you think? Like,
no.
Is that part of how I become a good director? Or
no.
Like how people become? No?
No.
I think you got to trip balls at least once if you want to be a good horror director.
Are you just making an excuse to trip balls?
I think I am.
Okay.
But I think so. I think it really, you got to have at least one trip in your life to really, really get that weird goof. Like I like well, I like it when my horror movies get fucking weird, you know, like we get a little fucking weird, like this movie.
I guess. I don't know.
Brittany's like, I don't fucking know. Who is Joe Dorowski? What's an El Topo?
Yeah, what is an El Topo? Are you saying it right?
Yeah.
Are
El
you
Topo.
sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask your mom what that means.
She doesn't know Spanish.
She knows more than you do.
Probably.
Oh, I'm guaranteed she knows more than you do.
El Topo means the mole.
Oh, that's weird.
That still doesn't give you any hint of what El Topo's about.
Well, damn. Okay. I don't know why I care. Anyway.
El Topo has to be experienced, not watched. Go ahead. Let's get back to this movie.
Okay. So when they get up to the other house, they hear Eileen's giggle. And Becky is still going in to check it out, and Molly does not want to. So Becky, instead of going in the front door, she decides she's going to climb in a window.
What again? Like, now I heard it on the commentary to this Blu-ray. David Schmoller talks about, like, you know, he mentions he's trying to make it a nightmare and stuff like that, but it feels like he's making excuses for just like somehow getting these people in like bad areas.
Oh yeah.
You know, because they make a lot of dumbass decisions. I mean, Woody at the beginning, he could have went out the window at any point, but he doesn't. Like the window's open. He could just dove out.
I thought the window closed.
No, like the window breaks. He could have just shoved that thing out of the way and jumped out.
You're right.
So like he could have went out the window at any moment or anything. Like, but you know, everybody makes really stupid decisions in this, which you got to. You're in a horror movie. We got to get these people killed like sooner or later. But he says, cause he uses that nightmare line to explain why Woody doesn't go out the window, why certain things, characters choose certain ways. And I'm like, no, man, that's just an excuse. Just say it's a horror movie and they have to make dumb decisions if you want to see them killed.
Right. I mean, no smart person in a horror movie gets killed. I mean,
are there really smart?
I was about to say there's no smart
movies?
People anyway, but you know what I mean.
Because if they all made the right decision, there wouldn't be a horror movie.
I mean, sometimes there's one that makes smart decisions, though.
Well, that's typically the final goal. Yeah,
that's what
right,
I mean.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so she's inside and she's looking around, and Davy pops up behind her. He follows her until she thinks that she finds Eileen. She doesn't know he's there.
Yeah.
And then she gets locked in this room with a bunch of mannequins, of course. And she gets attacked by the mannequins, and then Davy jumps on her, and she hits him in the head and knocks him out. And the mannequins start falling on her and having an orgy on her. I'm calling it that.
It sounds sexual because the soundtrack or whatever, I don't know if he's making the mannequins make noises or if that's just the music. It's not really explained, but like it's like,
they're fucking her, okay?
Yeah, oh God.
I don't know.
Mannequin fucking.
Sounds rough.
They're not, what do you call that? They're not anatomically correct. You know?
Yeah.
Rub my bump.
Rub my
rub my bump. I can't,
would that be like having sex with like a life-size Barbie?
Ugh.
Mannequins are life-size Barbies.
Yeah, you're right.
And that just hit me. That's weird.
That is weird.
Anyway.
Why do we make... Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway.
We're like perplexed by mannequins all of a sudden. Right. That was a weird turn for the show.
So Davy then takes Becky down to his basement where Jerry is tied up, and there's another woman named Tina, and she's tied to a table.
Yeah. What? Brittany has had it with me tonight.
You're like rushing me through my parts so that you can get to your parts and talk?
I have more Chuck Connors.
You are... Do you want to do this?
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Anyway, So Davy leaves, and the woman's Tina on the table. She says that she stopped for gas along the highway and got kidnapped. And she says that they're all going to die. Jerry starts chewing on the rope that's tied to his hands, which is very smart.
Yeah.
It's
Like it's
the
just rope. You could
smartest-
probably chew through it.
I have never seen that.
Somebody tried to chew through their ropes.
Yeah, I've never seen that in a movie. And, well, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of movies, so.
I mean,
I'm giving
early
credit for
films,
that.
as soon as someone's tied to something, there's no escape. So I understand what you mean. The mannequins, they really do sound like they're having sex earlier. I don't know.
Yeah.
Perhaps, if they wanted an R rating, we should have got a view of some mannequin sex, Show, don't tell, Schmuller. But anyway, so an actor by the name of Shaler Kobe is credited for playing David. Of course, we know it's really Chuck Connors, and it's all the same person. And this character probably has a serious case of dissociative identity disorder. And I Oklahomaed that word up. DID for short.
Yes, formerly known as multiple personality
Yes,
disorder.
and I'm going to be a dick for just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be an ass. And I'm sorry if any of you actually suffer from DID out there. I'm just warning you, I'm about to be an asshole. I'm not saying DID isn't real, but how the fuck would we know? The only way I've seen this is on TikTok, because you're a big TikTok fan, and I usually watch over your shoulder because
Yeah.
Vicariously I become a TikTok fan at that moment. But it's populated with these people with DID,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously it's rude to ask someone to show their diagnosis. So how would you know if they're just fucking around?
That's the thing, is you don't know.
Yeah, so it's really, I don't know, man. I always,
And there are a lot of people that do fuck around and say that they have DID and they don't. Trisha Paytas.
well yeah. Trisha Paytas looks like a fucking one of those like snails on the side of the aquariums. But anyway, she does.
What does it matter who
She looks like a
We're
lamprey.
talking-
She's a disturbingly looking person. Anyway, but yeah, like I watch these videos that you watch, and I'm like, how do we know they're not just fucking around and stuff like that? I'm like, are these people getting paid for this?
Sometimes.
See, that's where I'm like,
There's only one.
because I've looked it up. Like I looked up DID before I decided to do this little asshole rant. And apparently it's very rare. Like in the amount, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I read it though, like in the amount of people saying they have it on TikTok. I'm sorry. Like,
Oh yeah, there's a lot, but there's only one that I watch, and that they call them systems. That system got diagnosed. What did they say? Like a year ago or something like that. And they have never like shown their diagnosis, but their wife is like talking about it and answering a lot of questions.
see, I don't even trust that though.
I know.
Like, you see what I mean? Like, it's hard to trust. Anyway, but would you say he has dissociative identity disorder? This character here. I don't know. I felt like
No.
it. I felt like, no, you wouldn't think so?
No.
Because he's two different people, we find out.
But the difference between dissociative identity disorder and this is with DID, like the person that is like the actual host is what they call them. The actual person, most of the time, they don't know what happens when the other alters are out.
Oh, interesting. See.
Yeah, like unless they talk about like, hey, I did this, this, and this today while you were not fronting, then they don't know.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Like see, this is why I have Brittany here, so I don't just go on asshole rants and someone writes in like, motherfucker, all my systems got mad at you.
No,
But anyway,
it's one system.
I'm sorry. All my collective personalities got mad. But anyway, either way, like he is good with a wardrobe change.
It's very quick.
He's very quick. He's very good at it. But anyway, so needless to say, Shylar Kobe isn't a real person. They made that up to kind of hide the twist,
Oh, okay.
That we get near the end of this movie.
That you've already talked about 6 times.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen Tourist Trap and you're a listener to the show, it's kind of weird because most of our listeners have seen this movie.
That's true. That's true. So then we see Davy getting ready for something, and he goes back down to the basement and says that they're going to have a party. He pours a drink and tries to get Becky to drink it, and Jerry says to leave her alone. So Davy splashes the drink in Jerry's face.
So people with DID, back on that, like, is every day a party for them? Like, can they just have parties? Can you just live alone and have a good time? Like, you would never have to talk to anybody because you have different people?
No.
Am I thinking along the lines of Sybil? Like, you remember that old movie with no. What's her? Oh, okay. Anyway, okay.
I haven't seen movies.
Back to this movie.
No, it's not a party for them.
Well, shit. It'd be a party for me.
Would it be?
I don't know. Let's move on.
Can we get the other altar out right now, please?
My other altar is fucking, I don't know. What I have, do I have altars? I have.
No, because you don't have DID.
Oh, good point. Okay, yeah. I could pretend, you know.
Well, then can you pretend to be somebody else for a minute? Because you're on 150 and I need you about a 20.
I am on a different level tonight, you guys. Anyway, moving on.
Are you going to let me speak?
I'm going to let you speak. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so Davy then tries to get Tina to drink the drink and she refuses. So Davy says she's so pretty and it's a shame she has to die. And he starts to tie her down. Like, he puts a strap over her head and nails it to the table so she can't move, and puts plaster all over her face. And he's telling her what's going to happen. Like, it's going to get hot and she's not going to be able to breathe out of her nose and then her mouth, and then she's not going to be able to see, and that she will die. But she'll die of fear before she even suffocates. And
it's a pretty cool scene, especially if you're claustrophobic.
it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, if this was happening to me, he's right. My heart might explode before I suffocate.
Yeah, and it lends to this movie being like, it's a pretty scary movie.
Yeah.
You know, not judging by our laughter tonight, but like, it is a very scary movie, especially this scene really gets to you, like, because he's slowly putting this shit on her face and stuff
right.
like that.
Ugh. And he's like, it's starting to burn. Ugh. Fuck that.
The whole time he has this mask on with a pompadour. Kind of looks like fucked up Elvis.
Elvis right before he died.
Oh.
All bloated and
straining on that toilet.
Anyway. So Jerry finally gets out of the rope from biting it, and he jumps on Davy. And Davy ends up throwing him into a wall, and then he picks Jerry up by the throat and chokes him. So then it skips to Davy, and he's painting this like mannequin face. What the fuck is this called? I don't know.
Man. It's a mannequin mask, like a mask he's painting and stuff like that. Or I don't know, a life mask. He's making a mannequin. Right. That's what we know here.
And he has Jerry tied up in another place now. Anyway, so he's painting, and he says that his brother didn't know about Tina, and he says that his brother is dumb sometimes, and all he cares about is his museum, and that he says he hates his brother, and that he will get rid of him. Then he goes on to say that Slauson, his brother, makes him wear a mask because he is more handsome than Slauson, and he thinks that Davy will take his wife.
Which,
reading this was very confusing for a second, because I was like, wait, it's the two different people.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind it's two different people. It's not just Chuck Connors. Right. But he's really effective in the scene when he's giving this little monologue, because he's like, and he doesn't know about my powers. And stuff. It's just like, ugh. Stop creeping me out, Chuck Connors.
No, that's the point of the movie.
Oh, yeah, you do. Keep creeping me out there.
Right. So he ends up dropping this key. So Jerry tries to grab this key. Davy goes on to say that he has to go out to the highway now to get people, now that the spring is closed, because they used to have people come to the spring and swim. Well, then Davy sees the key and he moves it with his mind, and he says his brother knows about his powers but doesn't let him use them.
Yeah, so again, that telekinesis thing, like I said, I think it helps because it makes sense. Because if you didn't have him doing this telekinesis, like, who knows? Like,
oh yeah.
But again, like I said, Connor's given a really good performance here, and I think he's the creepiest he's ever been in a movie. Obviously, Connor's never quite reached that Boris Karloff height, but and I've seen him though as a one-eyed vampire sea captain, so
Sea captain, huh?
yeah, he does a great job in his horror movies. So Tourist Trap was filmed in 24 days in Los Angeles County, California, with additional interior scenes shot on sound stages. Now, they saved a shit ton of money, about $30,000, in fact, of the budget, by convincing a local demolition crew who were about to demolish an abandoned house. They, Schmoller, he convinced them to back off for a bit, and so they got to film in this house that was going to be condemned for free.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so let that be a lesson to you guys who are making indie films. Also it's kind of worth mentioning that the second assistant director of this film was David Wyler, son of William Wyler. William Wyler, who directed films like Ben-Hur and The Best Years of Our Lives. I think he won Oscars for those. But David Wyler would go on to produce the Ben-Hur miniseries in 2010 and not much else. But I thought it was worth mentioning.
So Molly's still in the house and the phone rings. She answers it and they just hang up. So she then grabs a flashlight and goes out of the house. She hears someone whispering her name and she is rightfully so freaked out.
Yeah.
Davey ends up jumping out and chasing her with a mannequin head.
I love that too because have you seen my friend? Oh!
What the hell?
Oh shit! I would have a fucking heart attack if some dude, because he's also dressed. Because we haven't really mentioned it, but like the mannequin, his face doesn't change, but it's like the wigs change throughout. Like I said, the pompadour in the basement there, and then he's in this like long blonde wig. Like when he pops out here, it's fucking crazy.
It changes all the time.
Yes.
Oh. So she runs for a while and she ends up losing him. She comes up on Slauson and tells him that there was something out there, and she describes the mask, and Slauson knows that it's Davey. He says, "That's my brother."
Dun, dun, dun.
And Molly says that he killed Woody and probably the others. And Slauson says that he didn't mean to and that he was only trying to protect them.
From themselves? What?
I know, right? And he says that it's not his fault that he is the way he is. He is the way he is. Molly says they need to call the police, but Slauson wants to find him himself. He's like, let me find him and then we'll call the police.
Yeah.
Because I need to know where he's at. So they go back to the house. He goes inside and Molly waits outside and she has his gun. She's like, before he goes inside, she was like, I don't know how to use this. And he was like, just
point and pull the trigger.
And pull the trigger. And it'll do the rest. I mean, he's right.
Yeah. Look, it's a rifle. You don't have to be like dead on.
And if you can see somebody in the dark like that, then they're already too close.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's screaming at him the whole time he's inside because she wants him to come back outside because she's freaked out.
Yeah.
Why didn't she just go inside?
I don't know.
Like, just
go
it's
inside.
right. The door is right
Again,
right there.
Again, don't worry about it. It's a horror movie. They're not supposed to make the right decisions.
I guess. So then Davey shows up and she shoots him. He gets up, so she shoots him again. And he gets up again. And he says, why did I say
he
it like
gets
that?
up a second time.
and he says that she shot him with blanks.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, and this were... Ooh. But now Brittany didn't see this reveal coming up, the twist of the movie. I was shocked because, like, well, again, it's kind of difficult for me because I've seen all these movies so many times.
Right.
So, like, watching you watch it and it's fresh and you find out who the killer is. It's very interesting. How did that feel? Like, did you even see this coming from?
No, I did not. How would I have known?
I don't know. That's what I was asking.
I thought he was just looking for the other people, and then like,
Well, because
And then
again, like we said earlier, he is quick with the wardrobe change in this movie.
yes,
He's very good at it.
Yes. Oh, too good.
Yeah. Twists like this don't bother me too much, especially twists in like slasher movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, there are some horror movies where the twist is it's a twist, but it makes the movie unwatchable again. There's no rewatchability for some of these movies. I like the biggest example of that I like to bring up is any M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah.
Like The Sixth Sense, wonderful movie, but once you watch it once, like you really don't. It has no reason to go back and revisit it.
Right. I can't believe I watched that whole movie with you last night. Then I thought about it today. Not The Sixth Sense. The Mist.
I got Brittany to watch the entirety of The Mist last night. I don't know how I did that.
It just intrigued me.
It's
I
a
don't
very
know.
good movie. The Mist is a very underrated film.
But there is I guess it's not really a twist at the end. Yes.
Yeah,
Kind of.
a bit. It's more of a gut punch. It's not really a twist.
Would
Boy.
I ever watch that movie again? No.
No,
No.
Boy, that movie leaves you feeling bad.
I
That movie-
wanted to scream.
That movie makes you feeling real bad.
I was thinking about it today, and then I was telling the people at work
Uh-huh.
about it, and I was like, "Don't watch this movie," and they were like, "Why?" And I explained it to them, and they were like,
It's gonna punch you right in the gut.
"Okay."
And you know what? I know this isn't this movie. We're going way off topic here, but like Thomas Jane he didn't get a fair shake acting wise. Nobody will give him a fucking role anymore, it feels like. Either that or he's just not doing it. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. I'd like to see Thomas Jane in better movies.
maybe he doesn't want to do better
Yeah,
movies.
that's true.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not going to judge him for that. Anyway, I don't know.
Yet you'll judge me for my Chuck Connors love, huh? That's what we're doing.
Because you won't shut the fuck up.
Oh God. Okay.
I've been trying to get you to shut the fuck up.
For years now.
Oh, I'm going to make it happen.
Let's get back to the movie before she hits me.
So he then gets up again, and she hits him in the head. And his masks break, and we see that it is Mr. Slauson
Dun,
himself.
dun, dun.
So Molly runs off in the woods and stops because she doesn't quite know where to go, and she's yelling for Jerry, and ends up backing herself into the spring,
Yeah.
and Slauson is there in the water, and he grabs her and pulls her into the water.
Which is like he quickly did this. Again, Slauson's very fast. He's a very fast killer. He's very effective. Like
But that's how all slashers are.
true.
They're
True.
super
yeah,
fast.
Yeah. He's like a sneakier version of Leatherface, more smart. This is what Leatherface would be if Leatherface was more smart and more well put together,
Yeah. More smart, huh?
More smart. Yes, I said it. Moving on.
Do you know the correct word?
I don't want to talk about it. I was raised in Oklahoma. It's not my fault.
So was I.
Yeah, but
You went to Jinx.
Oh yeah, that's like the A+ school. Or
I went to
something.
Memorial.
Can there really be a more, more
Yes.
advanced? I thought they all based that on football here in Oklahoma.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Can there really be that
I
high
think-
level of a school? Yeah, smart people come from all sorts of public schools. Like,
That's true.
I don't know.
That's true.
Jinx is full of itself. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, so Slauson sits down to have dinner with mannequin Eileen and even feeds her soup. I mean, he spills it on her, but feeds it to her. And her head falls off. And he says he needs to fix that. Well, then we see Molly, and she's passed out in a bed, and when she wakes up, she is tied to the bed. Slauson walks in and tells her she is lucky to be surrounded by all of these warm friends.
Man,
What?
like I said,
I don't want to be.
creepy as shit, dude. Like
I don't want to be surrounded by these warm friends. And they're not warm. They're fucking mannequins.
What's really funny is we're used to big name stars being in horror movies nowadays. When
Yeah.
a horror movie comes out, it's not unheard of for it to have big movie stars in it. Mostly the indie budget films are the ones that have the unknowns in it. But, back then, all these movies mostly were unknown people or people beginning their careers. And so having Chuck Connors here, I think that's what adds more weight to this film is Chuck Connors' presence. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Chuck Connors fan, but like he really does apply his skill in like that you would see through his entire career to a little horror movie. And it really brings, I don't know, it cuts it out a little bit more, makes it more noticeable.
Yeah. So Slauson says that if she treats him right, he will be good to her. And she asks nicely for him to let her go. And he says he can't do that.
Dun, dun, dun. And speaking of that crackers and soup scene, dear God, why is that one of the scariest fucking parts of the movie?
Because this is his friend. Like
I know, and I think it's supposed to be playing off as like some comic relief.
Yeah,
is what we did. I mean, it is a little funny. It was like, I really should fix that when his fucking head falls off. But like, because they're playing that the score turns kind of. I don't know if we mentioned it, but there's parts of the score that are real like. Baby elephant kind of sounding like a
Why do you always go to that?
Because it's the only thing I know how to describe it. It's not like Branded where I can just sing the lyrics.
No,
but Mucked as the one who ran. Anyway, I'm
leaving this in my hand.
But it's really it's really creepy, and it's just Chuck Connors playing off of himself. Like it's just him acting with himself. Notice how I didn't say playing with himself. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would watch Chuck Connors do that. That'd be all right.
Maybe you.
Maybe. I don't know. He's a good looking man. I mean, Chuck Connors was a good looking guy. It's not my fault.
Anyway,
back to this movie.
So back in the basement, Becky slides a blade that she finds. She slides it over to Jerry, and he starts cutting his rope.
Use that rifle on me. Plickety plow. Anyway, moving on. I think Brittany's going to strangle my ass after this fucking is done recording.
Do you want to finish?
Lee does not return for the next episode.
There's not going to be a next episode. Whether you're alive or not.
Oh, God. Anyway, moving on. I'm sorry. I'm finished.
So he cuts him out of the rope, and then they go to leave. And then we get a quick shot of Slauson playing with these dolls. And it hit me right in the
this
giggles.
Part got you. It is very funny because it cuts and he's wearing that blonde wig again and he's just sitting there playing with these baby dolls.
It just hit me right in the giggles.
It was good.
Well, they end up sneaking past him, but they cannot find a way out because everything is locked. Mm-hmm. And when Slauson he hears something, then he finds Jerry, and Jerry jumps out this window and runs as far as he can because he's hurt.
Yeah.
Well, Becky goes out of the window too and runs away.
And this is definitely the Texas Chainsaw Massacre moment of the film. I swear that's why he has this in it, where Jerry just busts out this fucking window, because that's what Marilyn Burns does in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, back in 1974. But it's just randomly, it feels like, I don't know.
But it was the only way out.
Exactly.
So he was dressed as Davy then. Okay,
yeah.
We know he's Slauson, but he was dressed as Davy then. Mm-hmm. Well, then Slauson comes up to help her when she gets hurt because she doesn't know he's Davy. And he lays her in a bed, takes her back, lays her in a bed, and says he's going to get his doctor kit. Then she hears something from the other room and goes to check it out. And Slauson is just sitting in a chair, and the mannequin cowboys and Indians start having a shootout, like, around her. Like, she's about to get shot. I'm very confused. I was very confused during this scene. Well, she ends up getting stabbed in the back of the neck with a knife.
Yeah, and supposedly they had a wood block underneath Tanya Roberts' hair.
Oh.
And the weirdest thing is when I've read and I've heard a few things describing how they did this, and they all just say they hurled a knife.
Oh.
So I'm like, did you just throw a knife at Tanya Roberts' head?
And hope to, like, get it on that block?
I'm hoping it was attached to a string. I'm pretty sure it was probably attached to a wire and they slid it, to the block. So. But, like, a little bit to the left and we wouldn't have 1987's Body Slam.
Ooh, that's scary.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fucked
not
up.
letting them do that to me.
Oh, it's messed up, man.
So Molly is still in the bed and she is sweating, and a woman is there and gives her water.
A helpful mannequin.
I didn't say it was a mannequin yet.
Oh, sorry. I think this is the most pissed off you've ever been at me on this show. I don't know what I did.
And before Davey...
Branded. Mark is the one who ran. Ow! I got hit.
Give me my wallet back.
There you go. Oh, God, I got hit again. It's a double header. I'm not giving it back. I'm not giving it back this time. Only on Night of the Horrorfile could it devolve into the hosts beating each other. I don't think any other podcast does this.
No, you're not beating me.
No, that's true. No, I'd get arrested. And I don't own enough wife beaters to get arrested for spousal abuse. I'd have to take my shirt off and be in my boxers.
None of them are white.
And you got to have those really cheap ass white boxers that are almost like they're not tight enough to be boxer briefs, but they're not like loose enough to be traditional boxers that hang almost to your knees, you know?
No.
So you're just like wearing these weird ass shorts. You know what I'm talking about.
Anyway, are
Okay.
you going to let me speak?
I'm going to let you speak. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you finish. I'm going to let you finish.
Thanks, Kanye. So Davey comes in the room and the woman turns back into a mannequin. He grabs Molly and takes her into another room. And he takes the mask off and just sits there and falls asleep. I have no fucking clue. So Molly starts to crawl away and the mannequins start moving and yelling at her. They're like, like that with their mouths all open. It's really scary.
And I think he just sits down and starts using his telekinesis at her just to fuck with. It's really creepy.
It's so creepy.
Interesting shot, though, when she's crawling across the ground. I love this shot because it's a close-up of her face and you just see like Chuck Connors in the background blurred out, but he's like moving, watching her. So, you know, he knows where she's going. It's just,
right.
It all makes for a very creepy sequence here.
Oh, yeah. So she curls up into a ball and he ends up taking her into another room and he tells her that there's something special about her and that she reminds him of his wife.
And speaking of wives, that mannequin that hands her some water earlier, that was David Schmuller's then wife in a mannequin costume. And originally this mannequin had a couple of lines, but Schmuller had them cut out during post-production and she was very angry at him for that.
Oh, no. Did she throw her wallet at him?
She probably would have. I think there was definitely some you and me energy in that room when he cut her lines.
I just want to stab you.
Like, you're so mad tonight, and it's so funny. Moving on.
So Slauson ends up putting a mask on Molly's face and starts to kiss her. And he cries, and he says, "Tell me you love me." She says, "I love you," just to appease him.
Yeah.
And he kisses her without the mask and then gets very upset. I think he gets upset because he realizes this is not his wife.
Yeah, there's little moments where like reality bleeds into his mind and stuff for a second. And this is definitely one of those moments. Yeah,
because then he says that he killed her, talking about his wife. And he said, "And I killed my brother." And he says that they were whoring around behind his back.
Not whoring.
Whoring around.
Not whore. That's a word we need to bring back. Whoring around.
Whoring around. He said, this is the way he said. He said, "They were whoring around behind my back in my own house."
Dang, Brittany's doing a voice.
Kind of. I don't know.
Keep going.
And he says, "I have the legal right to do that." He's like, "Since we were married and she was whoring around, I had the legal right to kill them." I don't think that's how the law works. I'm thinking that even in Texas, you can't kill your wife for being a whore, okay?
Probably not, no.
So he says he didn't want to kill her. He just couldn't control himself.
And like you, I did have some serious questions on whether this was true. Could you murder your spouse and their lover in a fit of rage and it be legal?
You did not look this up.
I did a bit of research.
Okay, FBI agent.
I probably got flagged by like FBI and a few local law enforcement as well. But at pre-1950 Virginia, there used to be something called excusable homicide in some cases. Now, basically, if you came home, walked in your bedroom, and saw someone railing your wife, let's just say that, and you shot them in the head and then called the police immediately, in many places, it could have been excused and nothing would have happened.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
that's it. I'm
shit.
doing that. Oh, yeah.
What? No. It's called second-degree murder now, but
Damn it.
But I think honestly, like the little research I did, it was an old Spanish law that got adopted by some of the states and stuff. In some places in Texas, it was a thing for a while. Not anymore, though. So please don't kill your spouses and their lovers and tell them you heard it on Night of the Horror File. We don't want to get sued for this.
Well, I'm not going to kill the lovers.
I don't know. My
But the
solution for
spouse.
it. Here's my solution. So if you walk in, that's happening, just take a minute. Breathe, step out of the room, get you a drink, tell them to wait there for a second, and then join in, come back, join in. And maybe you got like, I don't know, maybe it'll be a thing and you'll have a pretty cool live-in barbecue and beer buddy.
Okay. I'm thinking that's not how you would react.
And then you don't murder. See, that's my thing. Avoid the murder. Did you hear that, FBI? Not gonna murder.
You're not.
Not gonna murder. And anyway, I'm sorry. Moving on.
So he then tells Molly that he can't let her go. And she says she won't tell anyone. And he says she will have to join the others. Then they hear Jerry and watch him break down the door. Jerry wants Molly to go with him, and Slauson is watching the whole time. And Jerry wants to know where the others are. And Molly wants Jerry to just kill Slauson because does he have a gun? I don't remember what weapon he had.
He has like I remember he has a hatchet. Like
okay.
A tomahawk looking thing.
Oh, that's right. I just couldn't remember what he had. Well, Molly just wants Jerry to kill Slauson, and Slauson says that he can't. And he goes over and starts dismantling Jerry. So Jerry's not real.
Dude, this scene right here is the coolest fucking thing ever.
Oh,
because
yeah.
he just walks over, pulls this motherfucker's arm off, and then twists his head off, too.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, when the fuck did that happen? Like, oh, shit.
And it's like, whoa. Because he was just talking like a person.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. So Molly starts freaking out, and the mannequins are singing. And Slauson dances with one of them, and it comes to life.
And it's really cool camera thing they do here, because as he's spinning around, because he's twirling this mannequin around as he's dancing with her. And of course, fucking 6'6" fucking Chuck Connors. But as he's doing it, it's going from mannequin to real person. Like as he's spinning in front of the camera.
Yeah.
It's really cool shot here.
It is really cool.
Especially with all the creepy fucking mannequins coming out of her. And there's one mannequin that looks like Rumpelstiltskin or some bullshit coming out of the shadows.
Yes.
That one's scary as fuck.
Yeah, like what the
Yeah.
fuck? So Molly finds the axe that Jerry had. Well, the mannequin. I don't fucking know. And she hits Slauson with it, and he falls over and dies. Well, Molly screams, and then we see her driving away with her mannequin friends in the Jeep.
Well, so no one has a happy ending here, which I actually like that.
Okay, well, first of all,
Okay.
this ending is not what I thought it was going to be. Not that I was mad about the ending, but I thought I was going to be mad because I see the fucking Jeep. I don't see what's happening in the Jeep.
Yeah.
I just see the Jeep, and I paused it, and I was like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, Brittany thought, because she screams and then we see a shot of them driving again, because when the Jeep with all the people in it is far away, it looks like it's just the cast again.
Yeah.
And so Brittany like pauses and looks at me. She's like, what the fuck? And I was like, no. It wasn't all a dream. Hang on. Watch.
I was pissed. I was like, no,
yeah.
Thank you.
It's a very bleak ending we have here.
She just looks all crazed,
Yes.
and she's got all the
Got all
mannequins.
the mannequins. So I guess, she kind of got all her friends back, so I guess it's not too bleak.
In plastic form?
In plastic form. But Tourist Trap premiered in Los Angeles, California on March 14th, 1979. Of course, with that PG rating. And that, I believed, if it would have been rated R, well, obviously, like if it had breasts, it probably would have been rated R. But like if it would have been rated R, I think people would have taken it a little bit more seriously and gone to see it. You know, people have been judging horror movies from the dawn of horror's existence for that fucking PG-13 or PG rating. You know, a lot of people don't pile into the theaters. And nowadays, kind of, it's a little different with Insidious and like, well, not Insidious, I think that was rated R, but like with the Conjuring films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A little different nowadays. People take those things a little bit more seriously than they used to. But while the movie didn't do anything impactful at the theater or the box office, it did get more of a wide release on broadcasting television. You know, as with the PG rating, it could be syndicated easily. You know, you could play this on your stations a lot more easily than you could a rated R movie.
Oh, okay. Of
course, like with all our movies, this one really got a cult following when it came out on video cassette or VHS for you hipsters. And it also came out on DVD in 1998, which really begs the question. Man, I didn't realize that DVD had been around since 98.
I didn't either.
That's interesting. But of course, like I said earlier, I believe it got even a larger cult following when it premiered as the first movie on the Last Drive-In Marathon hosted by Joe Bob Briggs back in July 2018. You know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The Last Drive-In's been around for almost 3 years now. But we lost old Chuck Connors back in 92 of lung cancer. He had a pretty healthy smoking habit of like 3 packs a day at one point.
Oh, Jesus.
And then
Christ.
even after he like decreased, he was smoking at least 1 cigarette a day and stuff. So yeah, lung cancer got him at the age of 72. But I feel like Connors would be proud of his newly acquired horror fans. And I think Tourist Trap is a great underrated piece of creepy horror. That honestly, okay, got ripped off a bit in 2000. Not a bit, actually. It's an entire ripoff. 2005's House of Wax, the one with Paris Hilton.
Okay.
If you've seen that movie, it's supposed to be a remake of the Vincent Price classic. It is not. It is a straight remake of Tourist Trap.
I'm going to have to watch that again, but I saw that movie.
Well, after we record, I was going to toss it on. House of Wax in 2005 should have been called Tourist Trap. And it would have been the same fucking thing. But enough about my thoughts and about Chuck Connors.
Thank God.
What did you think about 1979's Tourist Trap?
I really liked it.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was creepy. It did not expect anything that happened. Like, it was not predictable.
For a movie with such a weird vibe, it really flows really good.
Yes.
Like, it's a blissful, like, 90 minutes, depending on what cut you watch. I think there's a truncated cut floating around there that's like 82 minutes or something like that.
And I was never bored.
No, it's a very entertaining flick, and it's very underrated. You know, it doesn't, out of all the 70s horror movies, it's one of those ones that just doesn't get the highlight it really deserves. It's on par with, I think, I mean, okay, this is me talking, but I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I think this movie is on par with it. Like, it's just as good.
Yeah,
like,
I agree. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, it was really good. So, okay. Next week, you know, we're leaving the 70s behind. I'm sorry, you guys. You gotta dump your bell bottoms off in the trash. Throw those John Lennon shades to the side. But we are going to camp. You know, last time we went to camp was actually last month with Friday the 13th. But we are not talking hockey masks. We are talking sleepaway camp. Felissa Rose. Wieners. There's a lot of male nudity in sleepaway camp.
Oh, I didn't get to that point.
Yeah, and well, there's a lot of unwanted male nudity at the end. But anyway,
oh god.
And curling irons. You're gonna look at curling irons the not the same way. And I know I say iron in a weird way, but
iron.
Anyway. Also, be sure to check out Patreon. I just dropped a little bombshell today. You had been saying for a long time that it would be neat to let them see our notes for the show. So I dropped one. I dropped an episode in Word form, which I've not done because I think it's very boring.
Yeah.
There is no jokes. We mostly improv a lot of the show. and
Yeah.
keep the outline for just to keep us in sync so we can keep flowing. And if we take breaks, like pee breaks, or anybody's got to take a shit, we got to think to jump back in. But anyway, you can go read that. Also, like I said, Bubba Hotep's going to be on there at the end of this month. And of course, another damn fine peaks. But anyway, branded, marked as the one who ran. What can you do if you're anyway.
You can get killed by your wife.
Go see Brandon.
No.
Check out The Rifleman.
No, I don't want to.
You got to.
No.
But, well, you don't got to. Anyway, I'm Lee Evans saying stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. To get a hold of us and submit your stories, fan mail, and death threats, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and nightofthehorrorfile.com. Our theme song was written and performed by John Brennan, used with permission. Find John at shopjb.bandcamp.com and at badtechno.com. If you like what you hear, leave a good review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show on your social media. See you next week.
Branded, that's not the way to die. What do you do when you're branded? Can you live with a lie? Branded.